So UFC 300 has just taken place, and this is my initial reaction to the card. UFC 300 lived up to expectations. This was the most stacked card in UFC history, and it was the best card in UFC history in my opinion. There was 13 fights on the main card, with 8 finishes. So starting off the early prelims, you had Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Round 1, I'd probably give that a 10-9 round to Cody Garbrandt. Nothing much really happened, to be honest, but Cody did land the better shots, to be honest, from what there was. There wasn't really much to go off. Not much happened in the first round. Deiveson Figueiredo surprisingly went to the grappling, which I just did not expect him to do that. I didn't think that would be a successful way for him to win. Yes, he has great jiu-jitsu, but Garbrandt has great wrestling defense. But once Deiveson Figueiredo was able to get it to the mat, Garbrandt really couldn't get up. Garbrandt's get-ups just weren't there tonight. Deiveson Figueiredo was able to submit Cody Garbrandt in the second round. What's next for Deiveson Figueiredo? If Yan isn't going to be ready in time for Chito Vera and Chito Vera's ready, do Chito Vera versus Deiveson Figueiredo. For Cody Garbrandt, the guy's only 32. I thought this guy was way older than what he is. Do Garbrandt Cejudo next. I think that's a great matchup, and I think it's a very winnable matchup for Cody Garbrandt. Next up, you've got Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Now, I didn't know how Bobby Green was going to look after that loss to Jalen Turner, but the guy hasn't missed a step. Landing beautiful teeps in there to Jim Miller, just keeping him on the end of the punches, just boxing him up, busting him open. I'm surprised Jim Miller didn't go for initiate the grappling a bit more, but yeah, Bobby Green just styled on him, to be honest. Next up, you've got Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. This actually wasn't a bad matchup, to be honest. It was close, but I think Andrade was definitely the deserving winner. Then you go on to Jalen Turner versus Moicano. Now, Jalen Turner, what the fuck? So, Jalen Turner drops Moicano, and then decides to try and do a walk-off KO. Why? Moicano gets dropped, yes, but he gets right back up. And when he gets back up, Jalen Turner's arguing like Herb Dean. He'd be like, oh, he's out. He's not. Shut the fuck up and just go for the finish. Brutalize Moicano like you done the Bobby Green. Show no remorse. But anyway, Moicano was able to get it to the mat, and basically Jalen Turner just couldn't get up. He couldn't shift Moicano, and eventually the referee had to step in because Jalen Turner kind of just, not give up, I wouldn't use that as a word, but he wasn't being able to get out from underneath Moicano, and there was just a lot of unanswered shots, really. Not unanswered shots, but you know what I mean. He wasn't really moving and stuff like that, so it was the right decision. It wasn't early. Fair play to Moicano. Then we move on to Sadiq Yusuff, Diego Lopez. Diego Lopez is the real deal. I rate Sadiq Yusuff. Diego Lopez is the real deal. This guy, fuck all this top 15 matchups. I know he should be ranked 13 after being Sadiq Yusuff, but get this guy in the top 5. This guy is definitely a future UFC champion. Get the rematch between him versus Movsar Evloev rebooked. Diego Lopez beats Movsar Evloev on a full training camp. Diego Lopez is him. Then we move on to Kela Harrison's Mr. Olympia debut. UFC debut against Holm. Why did Holm try and grapple with her? Why? Kela Harrison looked good though. I didn't think she looked great on the scales with the weight, but she hydrated up. Fucking massive, so she is. She is massive. She's probably more than likely going to be UFC champion by the end of the year. I don't know how many times she's going to be able to make this big weight cut though. But we'll see. She looked good in her debut against Holm. Holm at 42. You're nowhere near a title shot. I think you just retire, to be honest. Then you've got Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling. Now, a lot of people were shitting on this fight, saying it was boring. Now, it wasn't the most entertaining fight. No. But Aljamain Sterling looked really, really impressive on his debut in the featherweight division. Landed some crisp shots on the feet as well. And just basically out-grappled Calvin Kattar for all 3 rounds. Calvin Kattar, I don't think, got anything off. Nothing. Aljamain Sterling just dominated him from start to finish. I'd like to see Aljo versus Ortega next, to be honest. I would have liked to have seen that matchup with Aljo just moving into the featherweight division. They did give him Kattar. Aljo dominated him. Aljo looked good in the featherweight division. Him versus Ortega next, I think, is the way forward. Then we go on to Yuri Prohaska, Alexander Rakic. What a fight. Arguably fight of the night, in my opinion. Rakic was doing a great job, just brutalizing the legs of Yuri Prohaska. It was as if though when Alexander Rakic would land clean on Yuri, which he done quite a lot on the chin, it had no effect. It really did not affect Yuri at all. Yuri was very, not patient in there, kind of patient, if you know what I mean. But like, put it this way, Yuri wasn't going in there to win a decision. Yuri knew he had the KO Rakic, and that's exactly what he done. He was able to hurt him in the first round. He hurt him in the second round, was able to follow it up. He cracked Rakic. Rakic was kind of just on skates at that point, falling all over the show. Yuri Prohaska was able to turn him, so Rakic would then fall over. Yuri followed him up to the ground. That was it, over. What's next for Yuri Prohaska? I'm not too sure. With Pereira winning the belt, or sorry, not winning the belt, defending the belt, it has to be Pereira and Kela next. So unless you do Yuri versus Jamal Hill, or you do Yuri versus Jan Blachowicz, I think those are the best options for him. In terms of Alexander Rakic, what's next for him? Maybe you do Blachowicz, Yuri next, and you do Hill versus Rakic next. I think that makes sense. Then we start off the main card. You've got Bo Nickel, Cody Brundage. Yeah, don't ever put Bo Nickel on the main card of a UFC pay-per-view again when he's fighting this low level. This was not a great performance on Bo Nickel's behalf, and he understood that himself. You've seen he wasn't happy with his performance. Cody Brundage kind of surprised a lot of people, I think, in there. I still don't rate him at all, but I mean, he was able to make it out of the first round, which a lot of people did not expect. For being such a big favourite, though, you expected Bo Nickel to go out there and starch the guy. It just didn't happen, to be honest. I think a matchup that would be good to see Bo Nickel in next would be Sharaput and Magomedov after he comes off his fight in Saudi Arabia. They'd be two unranked middleweights, two future stars for the UFC. Pair them up. I think that would make sense. Then we go on to Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan. I'm just going to be honest, Oliveira's never going to fight for a title again. Oliveira nearly had Arman Tsarukyan finished in the first round. Arman Tsarukyan is extremely tough to be able to get out of that guillotine. Arman wasn't smoked tonight, walking out of the ring, tried to punch a fan, nearly got subbed in the first round. But this is a problem that I have with Oliveira. He spends too long working off his back. Like, yes, he has great jiu-jitsu, but you don't win rounds from having someone on top of you and being on your back. It just doesn't work, and Oliveira unfortunately spends too long there. He nearly finished Arman in the third round as well. It was very close. It was a very, very close fight. I mean, you could have gone either way, I think, with Oliveira obviously nearly finishing the fight twice, but I do believe Arman getting the win here was the right thing to do, and Arman's obviously not fighting for the belt next. We know who that is. I will talk about that in a different video. Then we move on to the BMF title matchup. Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway. I called it. I said as soon as this fight was announced, Max Holloway would beat Justin Gaethje. Max Holloway started off strong. The leg kicks, I mean, Holloway didn't do a great job defending them. I don't really think he defended any, to be honest. His leg was mashed up, but he didn't show any effect. I mean, he didn't swap stances or anything. He stayed in the orthodox, stuck to his game plan, even though his leg was shattered. He was able to catch Justin Gaethje with a lot of spinning back kicks. He caught him, and that is what broke Justin Gaethje's nose. I believe it broke his nose, but anyway, the blood started coming out. Gaethje was breathing through the mouth. Yeah, like I said, Gaethje was just swinging haymakers and missing, kind of reminiscent of what the way he used to be. He did crack Max Holloway and drop him with a good shot behind the ear, I think it was. Perfectly legal shot, dropped Max Holloway, but the finish, Max Holloway styled on Justin Gaethje for 5 rounds. Then in the last couple of seconds, done Max Holloway's normal thing, point at the floor. Both guys just started swinging, and with 1 second left to go, Max Holloway was able to KO Justin Gaethje and become the BMF champion. And then he called out Ilia Topuria. You looked at Ilia Topuria in the crowd, he did not look too impressed by that call out. It seems like he doesn't want to fight Holloway. I think Holloway beats Topuria, in my opinion. I don't think Max fights Topuria next. I think the way this is going to plan out is Max is going to need time off to heal up from this matchup. Obviously, his leg was destroyed. But I think the UFC now are going to say they're going to rush Volkanovski back into this. I think they're not going to let Volkanovski take as long as he wanted off, because if Volk wants to take a lot of time off, I think the UFC are just going to skip him and give it to Max Holloway. But I think Volk does deserve his rematch first. But yeah, Max Holloway's he's the biggest winner coming away from all this, because this guy could fight Islam next, defend the BMF belt next, fight for the featherweight title. Max Holloway is in a really good position. 32 years of age, I believe. This guy's been around for ages. Former featherweight champion, arguably the best performance of his MMA career. I'm looking forward to seeing what Max Holloway does next. Zhang Weili versus Yan Xiaonan. Zhang Weili essentially choked her out. I don't know how that fight wasn't called. I mean, they did say on commentary you can't be saved by the bell, so that kind of makes sense. Zhang Weili nearly submitted her with a head and arm triangle. Yan Xiaonan showed how tough she was in there. Nearly she dropped Zhang Weili multiple times in that matchup. You could see though there was a massive hole in Yan's game, and that was her grappling. And Zhang Weili is just the more complete fighter and was able to exploit that, use her championship experience, and win that matchup. I'd like to see these women rematch again in China. Maybe Yan needs to get another win before she gets back in there, but it was a really fun matchup. Zhang Weili, I don't know if any woman currently is going to beat her, but Yan Xiaonan was extremely close. Then we move on to the main event, Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill. I'm just going to have to stop doubting Alex Pereira, aren't I, really? Jamal Hill tried to have a kickboxing match, one of the greatest kickboxers of all time. The finish as well, Jamal Hill kicks him in the cup. Herb Dean comes over, Alex Pereira just says, "Nah, you're alright, mate." Cracks him with a left hook. Mate, Alex Pereira is definitely the hardest hitter we've ever seen in the UFC. He hit Jamal Hill that hard that when Jamal Hill fell down, not only did his eyes pop out of his head, but like his tongue just started like falling out of his mouth. Alex Pereira not flatlined, but he fucking hurt Jamal Hill in there, finished him, and you seen him with his pose afterwards. Alex Pereira, yeah, he's him. He's hinted about fighting at UFC 301. I wouldn't be against it. The guy took no damage. If you're Pereira, I know he said he wanted to fight at heavyweight. Tom Aspinall is going to fight in Manchester, and I don't see Pereira fighting there. I think it's going to be Blades versus Aspinall for the interim title. But if I'm Pereira, especially with the pulling power that he has, and realistically 301 isn't that great of a card, I would be saying I want to fight at 301 and I want Ankalaev. I think Pereira beats Ankalaev anyway, because I just think Ankalaev doesn't do a good job defending leg kicks, and I feel like he doesn't throw enough volume to give Pereira enough problems on the feet either. I feel like Pereira would beat him. But yeah, overall 300 was a great card, really lived up the expectations. Let me know in the comments below, what did you think of UFC 300? And as always, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. And I'll see you again in the next one.